March 13th, 2014. The air inside the executive office feels entirely devoid of oxygen. Pavel Durov sits perfectly still behind his heavy mahogany desk. A single sheet of paper rests under the harsh glow of his desk lamp. It is a highly classified government ultimatum demanding absolute compliance. The formidable 29-year-old tech billionaire knows exactly what this specific document truly represents. It is a death sentence for innocent people. The Russian Federal Security Service is aggressively demanding the private data of political protesters. They want the home addresses and personal messages of citizens organizing against the state. If Pavel hands over this digital information, those specific individuals will simply vanish into dark basement interrogation rooms. He stares at the official stamp, pressing heavily onto the page. He faces the ultimate choice between saving his massive fortune or protecting his users. Pavel does not call his expensive legal team to negotiate a quiet settlement. He simply picks up his phone and takes a clear photograph of the highly classified state demand. With a few rapid keystrokes, he posts the top-secret document directly onto the public internet for the entire world to see. It is an act of pure technological defiance. The post generates 200,000 shares in just 60 seconds. The swift retaliation arrives before the digital ink can even dry. Within minutes, several unmarked black vehicles aggressively surround his glass headquarters. Heavily armed security personnel violently storm the executive floor. While the shockwave ripples through the internet, his own corporate board of directors convenes an emergency secret meeting. They immediately vote to strip him of his chief executive title. He is officially fired from the very empire he created. Intimidating guards physically escort the young founder out of the massive building. Pavel Durov leaves behind his phenomenal $300 million company without putting up a physical fight. He walks out into the freezing street carrying absolutely nothing but a small backpack. He is officially an exiled fugitive fleeing his own homeland. The government assumes they have completely crushed a rebellious tech entrepreneur and successfully stolen his massive digital kingdom. They are entirely wrong. By forcing Pavel out of his corporate cage, the government just unleashed their absolute worst nightmare. They inadvertently triggered the most sophisticated and expensive middle finger to state surveillance in modern human history. Pavel will eventually be hunted by multiple international intelligence agencies and permanently banned by 17 different nations. He will spend his entire life moving silently from one secret location to another like a ghost. Despite losing everything, he will manage to build a completely untouchable digital fortress. He will engineer a messaging application so incredibly robust that entire sovereign nations will shatter their own internet infrastructure trying to block it. Today, 1 billion human beings rely completely on his brilliant creation to speak freely in the dark. Every powerful regime on Earth desperately wants him permanently stopped, but absolutely none of them can touch him. How does a single rogue programmer, armed with a laptop, manage to defeat the most sophisticated governments on the planet? The answer requires looking past the massive servers and complex encryption keys. You have to understand the mind of a man who considers privacy an absolute human right rather than a corporate privilege. To fully comprehend this unbelievable global war, we must rewind the clock back to the very beginning. Before he became a hunted billionaire flying on private jets, he was completely unknown. He was just a skinny student, operating from a tiny dormitory room with a borrowed computer. The foundation of this massive global resistance did not start with a grand political vision. It began with an obsessive need to build a system that operated faster and cleaner than anything else existing on the early internet at that time. October 10th, 2006. The glowing screen of a borrowed laptop illuminates a tiny dormitory room at St. Petersburg State University. A remarkably skinny 22-year-old philosophy student forcefully hammers lines of complex code into existence. He has stayed completely awake for 4 consecutive nights, running purely on adrenaline and raw ambition. Pavel Durov is ignoring his upcoming graduation to focus entirely on building a brand new digital ecosystem. While Mark Zuckerberg is busy conquering wealthy American college campuses, Pavel sees a massive untapped opportunity hidden in the East. Russia boasts over 40 million active internet users, but absolutely none of them possess a functional social network. At exactly 4:47 in the morning, a clean platform named vKontakte finally goes live. His very first registered user is himself, and his second user is his brilliant mathematician brother Nikolai. By the time the morning sun rises over the freezing city, 1,000 curious students have already signed up. By the harsh winter, that number rapidly explodes to 10,000 active users. Pavel completely drops out of his prestigious university, just 3 credits shy of receiving his final degree. He knows a traditional academic paper can always wait, but the explosive growth of the early internet absolutely waits for no one. The new platform spreads like an unstoppable digital wildfire, burning through major Russian universities. The interface features an incredibly clean design, because the young founder personally rejects any feature requiring more than 2 clicks. He aggressively refuses to display any profitable advertisements for the first 2 years of operation. He firmly believes that explosive user growth will always beat immediate corporate profit. He also implements completely free audio streaming to attract millions. While wealthy international copyright holders scream in absolute terror, the young Russian users celebrate their new digital freedom. By 2008, the rapidly expanding network hits 20 million dedicated users. A massive Russian internet giant offers a staggering $50 million to purchase the young company outright. Pavel does not even bother to type a polite response to their incredibly lucrative email offer. He simply ignores the corporate billionaires completely. By 2011, over 100 million Russian citizens practically live their entire lives on his platform. The eccentric 27-year-old founder is now personally worth $260 million. He wears the exact same black shirt every single day and drives a completely black luxury car. He lives completely alone in a minimalist apartment furnished exclusively with black items. He operates exactly like a digital monk. Arrogant international journalists constantly attempt to label him as the Russian version of Mark Zuckerberg. The young billionaire coldly corrects their ignorant assumption by stating Zuckerberg is actually the American version of Pavel Durov. He rules his massive digital kingdom with absolute authority and brilliant technical precision. Everything operates perfectly until the freezing winter of 2011 arrives. A massive political storm suddenly brews across the snowy streets of Moscow. December 10th arrives, and the massive Russian capital violently erupts into pure political chaos. 300,000 furious citizens flood the freezing streets to aggressively protest against allegedly rigged parliamentary elections. These massive crowds are not gathering randomly or relying on traditional television broadcasts. They carefully organize their entire political resistance through massive private groups hosted directly on his platform. A single opposition page rapidly gains over 700,000 active followers. The powerful political establishment inside the Kremlin genuinely panics as they watch the massive digital uprising. A high-ranking intelligence colonel decides to call the young tech billionaire directly to demand immediate action. He bypasses the corporate switchboard and violently rings the personal cell phone of the eccentric founder. The aggressive military officer demands the immediate closure of all political protest groups. Pavel listens quietly for a moment, before simply hanging up. The furious colonel immediately calls back, screaming that his order is absolutely not a polite request. The young billionaire calmly blocks the incoming government number without saying another word. He refuses to bow to state pressure and officially draws a dangerous line in the digital sand. However, his brilliant defiance successfully places a massive target directly onto his own back. The wealthy Russian elite slowly begin plotting a hostile corporate takeover. May 16, 2012, Pavel decides to celebrate the historic birthday of St. Petersburg with a dangerous experiment in pure chaos. He meticulously folds 5,000 ruble notes into aerodynamic paper airplanes. Each small flying triangle represents roughly $150 in hard currency. He casually launches these expensive projectiles directly from his high office window down into the crowded city street below. The heavy cash planes spiral downward until hundreds of unsuspecting pedestrians suddenly realize actual money is literally falling from the sky. Pure animalistic chaos immediately erupts across the busy pavement. An elderly grandmother violently tackles a wealthy businessman to the ground. Desperate university students quickly form massive human pyramids just to catch the falling bills midair. Riot police rush to the violent scene, finding the billionaire calmly folding more planes. He throws over some jatters, some jatters and mere minutes before finally stopping the bizarre social experiment. He coldly tells arriving reporters that he wanted to see if money truly creates human happiness. He concludes that it only turns civilized people into desperate animals. The brilliant stunt immediately goes viral across the globe, but draws terrible attention. State media aggressively brands the young tech founder as extremely reckless and heavily influenced by dangerous Western ideologies. The powerful Security Council officially upgrades his internal intelligence file to an active state threat. While Pavel sleeps soundly, his massive company ownership slowly shifts like dangerous quicksand. A powerful billionaire closely allied with the political establishment secretly purchases 52% of the corporate shares through a complex web of shell companies. The silent boardroom coup takes 6 long months to execute and costs over $1 billion to fully complete. The wealthy oligarchs do not spend that massive fortune to simply chase higher quarterly profits. They aggressively buy the massive social network strictly to acquire absolute political power. The deadly corporate trap slowly snaps shut, but the brilliant founder remains entirely unaware of his impending doom. The true breaking point finally arrives in December 2013, when neighboring Ukraine violently erupts into massive political protests demanding absolute freedom. An urgent and highly classified intelligence directive arrives directly at the corporate headquarters. The secret police demand the personal data of 39 Ukrainian citizens organizing crucial supply chains for the massive protests. They demand phone numbers and home addresses and private internet logs. The terrifying letter explicitly states that total compliance is absolutely not an optional choice. Pavel reads the dark demands and realizes these targeted individuals are merely teenagers. If he officially hands over their private information, they will face immediate torture and guaranteed death. He aggressively screenshots the classified letter and posts it publicly, stating Russian laws do not apply to sovereign Ukrainian citizens. 3 hours later, his terrified corporate lawyer begs him to delete the dangerous post immediately. He warns that angry federal agents are actively driving toward his private apartment. Pavel completely ignores the desperate legal advice. Instead of surrendering, he publicly tweets a bizarre photograph of a dog wearing a blue hoodie. He proudly declares this image as his official corporate response to all state intelligence requests. The defiant dog image instantly becomes a massive viral meme across the entire internet. Infuriated government agents begin actively stalking his car through the dark city streets. 2 men in dark suits sit inside a black vehicle, explicitly watching his every single move. The silent intimidation tactics fail to break his iron will, but the corporate betrayal eventually succeeds. April 1, 2014 arrives with a devastating blow. Pavel enters his massive headquarters only to discover his primary access card is completely deactivated. Familiar security guards refuse to make any eye contact with their former boss. The nervous receptionist hands him a thick envelope containing his forced resignation papers. His office is already empty. A wealthy corporate rival sits comfortably in his stolen chair and offers him a massive exit package. He demands Pavel sign the document and quietly disappear with $300 million. The arrogant executive assumes he just defeated the rebellious founder. But Pavel is already 10 massive steps ahead of his greedy corporate enemies. The brilliant creator spent the last several months secretly executing the most expensive technological escape plan in modern history. His 12 most talented core developers quietly resigned the previous day and vanished completely. Their highly encrypted laptops are already safely located in a secret location in Cyprus. The foundational code for an entirely new platform is already perfectly compiled and ready to launch. Pavel did not lose the brutal war, but merely abandoned a compromised fortress. He steps onto the busy street, ready to unleash a heavily encrypted weapon called Telegram. April 21, 2014. A completely bare-rented villa sits quietly in the freezing suburbs of Buffalo, New York. Pavel Durov and his elite team of 12 loyal programmers huddle intensely around small folding tables. The entire house contains absolutely no comfortable furniture and 0 decorations. The only prominent feature is a massive whiteboard completely covered in incredibly complex encryption algorithms. They are not starting from total scratch. They are utilizing 5 secret years of intense developmental work to build an impenetrable fortress. Pavel began quietly coding this exact system the very day the intelligence agencies first demanded his user data. Every single line of fresh code operates on one fundamental principle. Governments are always the ultimate enemy of human privacy. They aggressively engineer massive end-to-end encryption protocols so complex that even their own core team cannot break them. They intentionally scatter their physical servers across 9 different global jurisdictions. Each secure location strictly stores only tiny, fragmented pieces of the massive digital puzzle. They completely refuse to establish a permanent corporate headquarters so police can never knock on their physical door. If a terrified user decides to delete their private account, every single message instantly vanishes from every device forever. The brilliant team writes heavy code for 16 grueling hours daily. They sleep on hard floors for exactly 8 hours and brutally repeat the cycle. Without any external corporate investors, Pavel personally funds the entire massive operation using his exit fortune. When massive American tech companies demand secret backdoors for law enforcement, his response remains an absolute refusal. Telegram officially launches to the global public in August 2014. The explosive digital adoption rate is absolutely staggering and entirely unprecedented. They acquire 100,000 desperate downloads on their very first day of public operation. Within the first turbulent month, over 8 million users flood into the secure platform. Every single person joining is actively choosing absolute privacy over flashy corporate features. Rival applications offer silly digital stickers, while Telegram offers military-grade encryption that would take thousands of years to crack. Global democracy activists adopt the powerful tool almost immediately to organize massive protests. Russian opposition leaders completely abandon the compromised platforms and migrate entirely to this new secure haven. Even infamous whistleblowers strongly endorse the platform from their dark exile. The rapid success terrifies global authorities, who realize they can no longer spy on their own citizens. In 4 short months, the platform reaches 50 million users, and governments scramble to destroy it. The absolute greatest test of their secure architecture arrives directly from the furious Russian government. April 16, 2018. A powerful Moscow court officially orders the immediate surrender of all master encryption keys. The angry judge takes exactly 18 minutes to confidently deliver the severe verdict. Pavel watches the legal charade via a secure video stream from a secret location in Dubai. He posts a single defiant public message declaring that human privacy is absolutely not for sale. The furious Russian state responds with overwhelming technological force. The government aggressively orders every single domestic internet provider to permanently block the application. The state censor furiously publishes a massive list containing nearly 16 million different IP addresses to block. They launch a massive digital bombardment to completely crush the rebellious platform. However, they severely underestimate the brilliant engineering of their invisible target. The massive state attack quickly turns into an absolute technological disaster for the government itself. Major corporate web services completely crash across the entire country due to the massive blanket ban. Essential online banking systems completely fail, and massive commercial websites instantly go dark. The powerful Russian government accidentally breaks its own domestic internet trying to stop one single application. Meanwhile, Telegram continues working perfectly without a single second of downtime. Pavel brilliantly engineered a sophisticated system that constantly disguises its own traffic to evade heavy censorship. He essentially created digital jujitsu that forces state censorship to destroy itself. He immediately sends millions of dollars in untraceable cryptocurrency to anonymous programmers creating free access proxies. The massive Kremlin officially declares a terrifying technological war against its own citizens and starts losing terribly. Furious citizens flood the capital streets carrying white paper airplanes to openly mock the failing government censorship. The massive state machine is slowly bleeding to death from 1,000 invisible digital cuts. In June 2020, the Russian government officially lifts the ban and admits total defeat. Pavel Durov successfully does the impossible by beating the powerful Kremlin at its own technological game. But defeating Russia was merely basic practice for the global war that rapidly follows. Authoritarian regimes across the planet immediately panic. Iran and China entirely block the platform, while Germany threatens severe censorship. Every single government demand, ironically makes the secure platform grow significantly faster. Every national ban instantly becomes massive free marketing for the rebel application. Telegram rapidly reaches 500 million active users, and then aggressively pushes toward 1 billion. Pavel discovers a profound truth about modern society. The more corrupt governments desperately hate a digital product, the more ordinary citizens absolutely need it to survive. However, this incredible global success demands a devastating personal price from the brilliant founder. Pavel simply cannot enter his native Russia or travel to hostile nations due to active security risks. He exists in a permanent state of high-end homelessness. He constantly travels on luxurious private jets and sleeps in 5-star hotels, but possesses absolutely no real home. He belongs to no single nation. His loyal core team remains heavily scattered across multiple secure global cities. If armed police suddenly raid one specific office, the massive network simply keeps running flawlessly from the others. He holds 5 different passports, but remains completely isolated. French intelligence closely monitors his daily routines, while the Russian state constantly tracks his private flights. He is simultaneously untouchable digitally and completely exposed physically in reality. Then, the brilliant mastermind makes a single devastating miscalculation in the late summer of 2024. He confidently schedules a routine flight into France, falsely believing his French citizenship grants him absolute immunity. He is terribly wrong about their intentions. French prosecutors spent 2 long years secretly building a massive legal case against his refusal to moderate content. They want to crush his defiance. August 24th arrives, and his private jet slowly descends through the dark clouds toward a Parisian runway. Elite tactical police silently wait inside unmarked vans on the cold tarmac. They aggressively tracked his specific flight from Dubai for 14 exhausting hours. The heavy aircraft door finally opens, and the billionaire steps out wearing his signature black clothing. 6 armed officers immediately surround him in the darkness. They aggressively handcuff the creator of the most secure messaging application using restraints meant for common street thieves. They throw the brilliant tech founder directly into a dark detention center, originally designed for violent terrorists. For 96 grueling hours, angry investigators demand secret backdoor access to his massive network. Pavel firmly delivers the exact same response every single time. Absolute privacy is never up for negotiation. An extraordinary wave of supreme irony suddenly washes over the entire globe. The very same Russian government that aggressively exiled him violently demands his immediate release from French custody. Famous tech billionaires and exiled whistleblowers publicly defend his fundamental human rights. After 4 tense days, France finally releases the exhausted founder on a massive €5 million bail. However, they permanently confiscate all his international passports. The man who ran from Russian tyranny is now completely trapped inside a Western democracy. He steps outside the crowded courthouse looking visibly older, but his fierce spirit remains entirely unbroken. He immediately posts a defiant public message, stating his core principles will never change. Within 1 single hour, his platform gains 12 million brand new users. The French prosecution accidentally created a massive digital martyr. Today, the secure application rapidly approaches 1 billion dedicated users across the globe. Soldiers share vital coordinates to survive active war zones, while oppressed citizens organize massive democratic resistance movements. In countless cities across the entire planet, ordinary humans speak freely simply because one programmer refused to comply. Pavel Durov continues living like a wealthy fugitive, because he completely refuses to bow to lawlessness disguised as law. He owns absolutely no physical property and places zero trust in any sovereign government. He started with a borrowed laptop and a dozen loyal programmers. He successfully transformed a simple technical belief into an impenetrable global fortress. He proved to the entire world that digital privacy is absolutely not a conditional corporate privilege. It is a fundamental human right worth fighting for against every empire on Earth.